Welcome to Trailblazer Weekly, live from the CEC Television studios at Dixie State University. I'm your host, Carrick Segmiller, and we've got a loaded show today. We'll take a look back at the opening weekend of Trailblazer athletics as football, volleyball, men's and women's soccer, and men's and women's cross country were all in action over the weekend. We'll hear from cross country head coach Justin Decker, as well as senior runner Shaquan Nettingham in our weekly player profile feature. So there's no time to waste. Let's get this thing going. Trailblazer Weekly starts now. The football team was the first Trailblazer team to officially open the 2016 season last Thursday in a game of first at Legend Solar Stadium. Thursday's season opener marked the first game for the Trailblazers as a Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference football affiliate member, the first matchup between Dixie State and New Mexico Highlands on the gridiron, the first football game played at DSU since the stadium was renamed to Legend Solar Stadium, and the first football game under the new Trailblazer nickname. Dixie State took full advantage of the opportunity and battled its way to a 21-14 win over the Cowboys in front of a crowd of nearly 4,000 fans. Orlando Wallace opened the scoring on the third play of the game, taking a 66-yard pass from Tyson Blackner to the end zone to give Dixie State an early 7-0 lead. Wallace later scored from 1 yard out to tie the game at 14-14 late in the third quarter. The Trailblazers took the lead for good a few minutes later when Blackner hit Say-J Luongo on a lateral pass, who then fired a strike to Dewan Dantzler for a 61-yard touchdown, a play which proved to be the eventual game winner. Of course, you don't have to take my word for it. We've got all the football highlights for you here. Let's roll that tape now.
Trips to the far side for the Trailblazers. Blackner takes his snap, has time, fires downfield, has a man wide open, and the catch is made, and he will score. Touchdown, Dixie State, all the way to the house. Season opening win in its NCAA Division II history. Quick screen pass. No, they're going to fake it. Dewan Dantzler's wide open, makes the grab at the 30. He's going to score. 25-10, touchdown. Blackner is going to pitch outside. Wallace will walk in. Touchdown. Discipline. 1:45 to play. Keith back to pass. Fires. A man is there. Ball is tipped. Devontae Lynch back with Keith. Keith looking. Has a man. Throw over the top of his head. Incomplete. No flags.
A great win for Dixie State football, which marks just its second season opening win in its NCAA Division II history and the first since 2009. Now, let's take a look at a couple impact players in that game for Dixie State. We'll look at both the offensive side and the defensive side. Offensively for Dixie State, Dewan Dantzler had a huge game in the receiving corps. 4 receptions, 106 yards, and a touchdown. Of course, that touchdown came on the halfback pass, which halfback pass was the number 3 in the first issue of the RMAC Top 5. Clifford Sims also had a wonderful game offensively, 16 carries, 101 yards, did most of that damage in the first half. Defensively for Dixie State, Darius Matthews, senior defensive lineman, had a big game. The captain with 6 tackles, one of them for loss, also had a sack in that game. And Colton Olson, who else? A junior safety, leading the team with the team high 8 tackles. He also had on the final New Mexico Highlands drive, he broke up 2 passes and had 1 tackle in 3 consecutive plays to help seal the victory for Dixie State. The Trailblazers look to start 2-0 for the first time in program history as they welcome in South Dakota Mines to Legend Solar Stadium on Saturday. We head back indoors now as the Trailblazer women's volleyball team opened its season on Friday, hosting the Crystalline Invitational with Black Hills State, Cal State Monterey Bay, and Northwest Nazarene all in town for the round-robin tournament. Dixie State opened the event with a 3-set sweep of Black Hills State, taking down the Yellow Jackets 25-17, 25-16, and 25-22. Delane Daniel led the attack with 10 kills in Game 1, while Kaylee Fry finished with 28 assists. The Trailblazers took a 2-1 lead in the nightcap on Friday against a tough Northwest Nazarene squad, but couldn't quite hold the lead, eventually falling in 5 sets, 26-28, 25-22, 25-18, 14-25, and 12-15. Dixie State closed the Crystalline Invitational with a Saturday afternoon matchup versus Cal State Monterey Bay, and like the first match on Friday, the Trailblazers rolled to a 3-set victory. Dixie State defeated the Otters 25-14, 25-18, and 25-22 to finish the weekend with a 2-1 record. Lauren Gamble led the way with 9 kills, while Kaylee Fry continued to set up her teammates with 20 assists. For the weekend, Taylor Duryea led the way with 29 kills overall, while Delane Daniel was one behind with 28 kills, and Kaylee Fry finished the weekend with 91 assists. Dixie State Volleyball returns to action later this afternoon, actually, versus Western Washington at the Pac West GNAC CCAA crossover tournament in Rohnert Park, California. The men's and women's soccer teams hit the road for a combined 4 matches to start the season last week. The men's team fell 3-0 on Friday to 6th-ranked Colorado Mines before dropping a 2-1 decision to Metro State Denver on Sunday. Senior midfielder Sean Jenny found the back of the net from 23 yards out to give Dixie State an early lead in the match against the Roadrunners, but Metro State Denver answered with 2 goals for the victory on Sunday. The women's team opened the season with a 2-0 loss to Concordia University Oregon in Portland on Thursday before dropping a 1-0 decision to Seattle Pacific on Saturday. With the losses, both soccer teams hold an 0-2 record in the young season. Both teams are back in action this weekend, and we'll tell you where a little bit later in the show. Cross-country teams both recorded solid starts to the 2016 season on Saturday at the Northern Arizona George Kite Classic in Flagstaff, Arizona. The women's team won the Open Division for the 2nd straight season, finishing the 2.6-mile race with a total time of 1 hour, 28 minutes, and 29 seconds behind an all-freshman scoreline. Alyssa Herring led the women's team with the 2nd-place finish in the Open Division and a time of 16:58.8 in her Dixie State debut. The men's team finished in 2nd place in the Open Division with a total time of 2 hours, 7 minutes, 46 seconds in the 4.5-mile race. Sophomore Hunter Chamberlain led the way with a 2nd-place finish in a time of 25:01.2. So cross-country with an excellent start to the season, and we'll have some more cross-country features a little bit later before we end the show today. We want to talk about our Trailblazer Weekly Athletes of the Week before we go to our first break, as we take a look at our Athlete of the Week on the men's side and the women's side. On the men's side, who else? Colton Olson, team-high 8 tackles in the football game on Thursday against New Mexico Highlands, also had those 3 critical stops consecutively in that last New Mexico Highlands drive to help preserve the victory. On the women's side, we go with freshman runner Alyssa Herring, who, like we mentioned, a 2nd-place finish in the Open Division at the George Kite Classic in Flagstaff on Saturday with a time of 16:58.8 in just as well her debut race in a Trailblazer uniform. So congratulations to our Week 1 Trailblazer Athletes of the Week. We look forward to seeing what our athletes will do in Week 2 and who will step up and try and win those honors for the Week 2 Athletes of the Week. It's time to run to our first break. When we come back, we'll chat with cross-country head coach Justin Decker. We're back after this.
What are you, superheroes?
Just 4 brothers who hate bullies and love this city. Gear up, guys.
There is a place where looking out means looking in, where an impression lasting only a few seconds will be imprinted on a life forever, where courage is forged and innocence rediscovered, where remembering is rewarding and forgetting unforgettable. There is a place where truth is felt and where seeing is believing. There is a place. There is a place where rocks bleed and nature blushes on a battlefield green with envy, where dimples determine destiny and a tiny wooden T holds the outcome in the balance. There is a place where friends are opponents and opponents are friends, where the prize is elusive The conquest is captivating, and the score isn't settled till the drinks are down. There is a place.
How you doing, Southern Utah? It's a good day to be alive in the STG.
I'd have been going nuts.
You would have lost your mind!
I could not believe he didn't even shake there. He gave him the finger, Devin. No!
Southern Utah's home for the best in sports includes local Region 9 high school games, Dixie State University, the NBA's new look, Utah Jazz, plus the best of the National Football League with the worldwide presence of ESPN to the Devin Dixon Show every afternoon from 4 to 6.
There is a place where the sun doesn't hide in the winter, where the greens stay green and the crimson canyons still glow. There is a place where dimples determine destiny, and a tiny wooden tee holds the outcome in the balance. There is a place where we drive for show, putt for dough,
Look at me.
and settle the score with another round. There is a place.
And welcome back inside Trailblazer Weekly, live on CEC TV and online at southernutahlive.com. The fall sports season is now in full swing, and today we're excited to welcome in cross-country head coach Justin Decker to the show. Coach, thanks for being here, and welcome to the locker room, as we like to put it. The guys here at CEC graciously put this together for us, and it's a wonderful set. We're excited to have you here today.
Thanks. I like it.
Again, Coach, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule. First off, I'd like to have a little fun with you. You're a cross-country coach. I'm assuming you enjoy running. So with that in mind, if you could leave, the studio when you're done and go run anywhere, where would it be? What's your run of choice, your go-to run, if you will?
Well, I will say I enjoy coaching a little bit better when the pressure's not on running. I'd still run a little bit, but not nearly like I used to. So it's a lot funner when you're in better shape and can run faster. So it's not quite as fun as it used to be, but I still enjoy it. And I'm actually doing the St. George Marathon coming up in a couple weeks, so I've been training a little bit for that. Been trying to run in some of our practices, but can't keep up with any of our athletes, so I'm more run behind them than with them. Just make sure nobody's getting lost. But I really like the trail runs, so we have lots of good hiking trails and stuff around, so I like to get off on those, make it a little more scenic and a little more interesting.
It's good to know that I'm not the only one that would rather be on the sidelines, watching and encouraging it at this point. When I think about running, I get tired at the very thought of it. So your cross-country athletes and what you guys do is just incredible, I think, to be able to be in the kind of shape that your players and your athletes are in, and to be able to put up the times that they do. And we'll talk about that as we go on. But first, we want to talk a little bit more about you. We really cherish the opportunity to get to know our coaches and our student athletes better here on Trailblazer Weekly, as we have these opportunities to have you in studio. So talking about you're starting your 6th year as the head coach of the cross-country programs here at Dixie State. Before we talk about here and now, let's rewind the clock a little bit. Let's go back to 2010. I know you were an assistant that season in 2010, but the job comes open, the cross-country job here at Dixie State. You have an opportunity to become the head coach. What jumped out at you about that job, and what made you decide to make that leap from an assistant coach to a head coach?
Well, I just, my whole life been very into sports, and running's been a big part of that, because my dad, when I was growing up, was a high school track and cross-country coach. So I grew up going to cross-country and track meets, and he got me started out when I was young running. So, and then just all sports, that was always a big passion of mine throughout my whole life. So when that opportunity was available, I was very interested and excited for the opportunity, and it's been a great several years.
You mentioned just a few minutes ago that now at this point in your life you'd much rather be coaching, kind of on the sidelines than running. I'm sure that's for more than one reason. How satisfying really is it to be able to coach your student athletes up, and then to see them take those things that you've taught them and succeed at the races?
Yeah, it's awesome to see their improvement. A lot of our runners just continue to get better every year, and those are the best ones to see, because it's the ones that work the hardest and are diligent and doing everything they can to improve, that are the ones that continually improve every year. And it's fun to watch them throughout their career, even though they may not have been standout all-star runners in high school. They continue to prove every year, and those are the type of athletes we're looking for.
I think what a lot of people don't understand, they want to look at college athletics, and they say, they see this glamour life for the student athletes, for the coaches. What a lot of them don't understand is that a lot of head coaching positions in collegiate athletics aren't full-time. They're just part-time. Cross country here at Dixie State falls into that category. So you've got to work, another full-time job on top of your coaching responsibilities to do what you do and to make ends meet. How do you draw that balance between coaching and your full-time job and shuffle all of the responsibilities that you have?
Yeah, it is difficult. And I mean, obviously, being a Division II cross-country coach is very different than a Division I football or basketball coach that you see, but it is pretty time-consuming. I do have another full-time job on top of this and a family, so it's just takes a lot of work to find the right balance. Falls are very, I'll wake up, leave the house at 5:30 every morning in the fall to come to our morning practice, go to work the whole day, and then have the evening practice. So there's some days, I'm gone from the house from 5:30 a.m. till about 8:30 at night. So, sometimes, I'll bring my daughter to practice sometimes in the evenings, just so, still get some family time. But falls are pretty crazy, but my wife's a big support that way, and knows that I enjoy it and does everything she can to help. So it is hard, but it's worth it.
And of course, I mean, when you talk about those things and coming to practice, and that's just the practicing and putting your student athletes through the workouts and making sure that they're ready for the races on Saturday. That doesn't even take into consideration, you've got to recruit still, you've got to keep track of your budget, you've got to keep track of receipts and travel costs and all of those things as well.
Yeah, that's true. So there's my to-do list is never gone. There's always stuff there on my list that I need to be taken care of. So it's good though. I like being busy.
That's good. Better to be busy than not is kind of the philosophy that I've always lived by. But that's just incredible, and just wanted to bring that up in the interview so people do get to see that our coaches, our student athletes put in so much here at Dixie State, and we respect all of you for that, and just really love what you do with the programs, and are excited to see both you and your student athletes succeed. So we applaud you for that. Let's jump into talking about here and now, this year's team. We've gotten to know you a little bit better now. As you look back over your time as head coach, you see some steady improvement over the last few years, and now this year with one of, if not the best recruiting class that you've brought in as a whole, you're kind of seem poised to have a breakout year on both sides. Let's talk about both teams now. And we'll start with the women's side, just because, to me, that's kind of the more intriguing side. There's less familiar faces, a lot of freshmen. You bring back someone like a Morgan Lacey that was on the team a couple of years ago, but really, if someone from the outside would look at this team, they would look at the roster and say, I don't know many of these players. So break down the women's team for us. What do you expect out of them this year?
Yeah, so we did add, almost a whole new roster. We got 17 on the team this year. In past years, we've usually had about 10. So by upping the size of the roster and not many returners, it's pretty much is a whole new group. Part of that is with the addition of the women's track this spring. We needed to bring in a larger group for that as well, and having that available also helped in the recruiting and the level of athletes we were able to get, because a lot of the runners don't want to go somewhere where they can't run track too. So we did get some good recruits this year that we probably wouldn't have gotten if we didn't have the track starting this spring. So it is a really strong group, like you said, the best recruiting class we've ever had, and that was evident in our first race this past weekend, where they won the open division for the women, and they did it with all 5 scorers, and actually the top 6 runners, all freshmen. So that's kind of unheard of. So to do it with an all freshman group, so we're really excited for the group we have and to see them grow going forward.
And that's great. We certainly took notice of the results over the weekend, and I'm not sure if you heard as you walked into the studio, we actually named Alyssa Herring our Trailblazer Weekly Women's Athlete of the Week for her performance there. Quickly before we move on to the men's team, I think if anyone was paying attention last year and looking ahead to this year, they might say, well, how come nobody's talking about your senior all-conference runner, Skylar Story? And you alluded to the women's distance track program. If I understand it correctly, she won't run cross country this year, but then she will run distance track in the spring and then cross country in the fall again, and then distance track again next spring. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah. So this would be her senior year of cross country, but she actually is just barely starting the dental hygiene program too, and that's a very rigorous program. So she's, that's taking up a lot of her time right now. So she's still coming to practices and there with the team. But this first semester, especially first year of that program, she kind of focusing more on that than athletics. And then she will compete in the spring. Then next fall, we'll use her senior year of eligibility for cross country and then have another spring. So yeah, by sitting out this year, it'll give us 1 more year of cross country with Skylar and 2 years of track.
Look at the men's side now. A few more familiar faces there. George Barlow, Shaquan Nettingham, Hunter Chamberlain, and yet still a pretty solid group of freshmen coming in. And it really seems like that men's side is the one that's poised to make that breakout year.
Yeah, especially with that leadership. Hunter, George, Shaquan, all seniors. They've been. Oh, Hunter's not a senior; he's a sophomore, but a returner.
Runs like a senior.
A returner that was all conference last year. But Shaquan, George, and Rodney are the seniors. So Rodney's the one. He hasn't been on the team the last 2 years, but he was actually a freshman in 2011. My first year as the coach, and those first couple of years, my first year coaching, he was our top runner. So it's been really good to have him back, and he's kind of taken up where he left off as one of the big leaders on the team. So adding him with the other returners we have, and we had a big race from freshman Tyler Bird this last weekend. So we have all the good returners from last year, and adding in Rodney, Tyler, a couple other good freshmen. So that's a really strong group, and yeah, definitely will be the best season they've ever had this year.
We're excited to see that. It was evident, like the women's team, with their performance in Flagstaff, finishing second in the Open division, and we're excited to see how you guys fare at San Bernardino and then at SUU, and then leading up to that Pac West Championship, and hope for a great showing at the Pac West Championships in October. But Justin, we appreciate you stopping by and taking some time out of your busy schedule to be with us. We really enjoy getting to know you. Before we let you go, we do need to have you sign our Trailblazer Weekly hard hat. All of our guests sign it, so we'll let you just pick a spot right there on that hard hat and sign it. And again, we appreciate you stopping by. So with that, we'll take our next break. When we come back, we'll take a look ahead at the next week in Dixie State Athletics and hear from cross-country senior Shaquan Nettingham in our weekly player profile feature. Don't go anywhere. There's more Trailblazer Weekly after this.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
There is a place where young and old make connections, where kids feel like grown-ups, and grown-ups feel like kids. There is a place where beauty arises in contrast, where wonder is universal, and laughter second nature. There is a place where friends find a future, families find each other, and feelings find their home. There is a place.
patriotism. It inspires passionate debate. It's worn like a badge of honor with good reason, because it means love and devotion for one's country. But what really makes up this country of ours? It's the people. To love America is to love all Americans. This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Love beyond age, sexuality, disability, race, religion, and other labels. Because love has no labels.
How long have we been?
Welcome back to Trailblazer Weekly. One final time on this Thursday afternoon. It's time now to take a look ahead at another busy weekend in Dixie State athletics. And like last week, as you'll see on your screen with all the events we have coming up here at Dixie State, another busy weekend, and we'll have plenty to talk about next week. It all starts today, actually. The women's volleyball team in Rohnert Park, California, to take part in the first annual D2 West Region Showcase featuring the top 2 teams from the Pac West, the GNAC, and the CCAA. They will open up with that with play at 4 p.m. Mountain Time against Western Washington. Then a little bit later in the evening, women's soccer has its first home match. That'll start at 7:30 p.m. at Legend Solar Stadium. As we look ahead now to Friday, that is tomorrow, women's volleyball also back in action in that D2 West Region Showcase. They'll take on Alaska Anchorage at 4 p.m. Mountain Time. And then the men's soccer team, they're look to bounce back from their 0-2 start. Their first game of the week, they're at Montana State Billings in Billings, Montana. That game will start at 4:30 p.m. Mountain Time. And then volleyball, with their second match of the day, will take on Cal State San Bernardino at 9 p.m. Mountain Time on Friday. That'll wrap it up for Friday, and then we move ahead to another busy Saturday schedule. Women's soccer will kick it off first for us on Saturday the 10th. Another home match against Sonoma State. That will start at 12:30 p.m. Mountain Time. Then women's volleyball, again down in Rohnert Park, California, will take on the host school, Sonoma State University, and that match will start at 2 p.m. Pacific Time. And then the football team, trying to go for that first 2-0 start in program history, will host South Dakota School of Mines and Technology. That game will kick at 6 p.m. We'll have that game for you right here on CEC TV as well as on SouthernUtahLive.com. Again, they try to go for their first 2-0 start in program history. And then wrapping up the weekend will be the men's soccer team. On Sunday, they will take on the University of Mary in a neutral site game in Billings, Montana. That game will kick off at 1 p.m. Mountain Time. And then really wrapping up the next week in Dixie State athletics, we look ahead to Tuesday the 13th, women's soccer back on the road in a non-conference matchup with Westminster College in Salt Lake, just a little bit up I-15. That game will start at 4 p.m. Mountain Time. So again, a busy weekend. We'll have plenty to talk about on the show next week. Of course, we'll have all the highlights and results just like we had this week. Before we wrap things up today, let's check in with Trailblazer Weekly producer Hayden Peterson and his weekly player profile feature this week with cross-country senior Shaquan Nettingham.
Shaquan Nettingham. I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada. I run cross country, and I'm majoring in mass communications. So I started running my freshman year of high school. I joined track that year, and I went into it thinking I was going to be a sprinter because I thought I had speed or whatever, and I didn't like distance. The next season I came back, she persuaded me to do cross country, and after that I just kind of fell in love for running. At first I didn't like it, but now I just feel that like I can't live without it. It's just something that like when you go on runs, you have a clear mind. You know, you're not thinking about anything, and you can just, I don't know, just be out and just kind of get lost within yourself. Well, I am involved in the radio program here at Dixie. I have a sports broadcasting show called Big Quan Theory, and my name is Big Quan, so I just thought that, you know, fit well together, like the Big Bang Theory. You know, something interesting and will hopefully get people's attention. I love sports so much. I'm always watching like Sports Center and, you know, football, basketball games. So that's essentially what I want to do, is like call games and, you know, be a commentator. I think that'd be really fun. Favorite movie is The Incredibles. I'm like such a kid, and so I love like animations, and my favorite character is Dash, and so it kind of fits that I run and, you know, he's a runner, so yeah. My favorite spot in St. George would probably be Menchie's. I don't know, I love ice cream, you know, I eat it like every night. I don't go there every night, but yeah, there's just Saquon Nettingham, and hopefully you come out and support us this year. Thank you.
Another great player profile feature. We look forward to Saquon having an excellent senior season with cross country. Well, that will do it for today's show. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you next time on Trailblazer Weekly.